So how do you why do you think these are both going on at the same time? That it's like longer is growing, but also shorter is growing. I feel like there's not really a clear path.
That's an interesting question, because if you look at it, I think number one, you have to go down to like when your attention gets dispersed like that, what does it mean? And when your attention gets dispersed, it's really hard to concentrate on one thing and like kind of create one really great thing. So I think ostensibly, like, being dispersed like that isn't a good thing, but it is a great way to grab attention. So when you're looking at, like, be it YouTube Shorts, be it TikTok, be it a lot of these different things, I think those apps are so focused on short form content. That's where you're grabbing the attention. But to me, I'm seeing more growth in podcasts than I've ever seen before. I think there's like 3.4 million podcasts out there. So that's a lot of different podcasts out there. Now the top 5% are shows that get 100 listens or more. So that is kind of a very top heavy thing where you have to be on the right podcast. But we've seen Apple Podcast does this kind of talking about their stats every year of where things are at. They've found that the average podcast episode that people are listening to about 80% of it.
Oh, wow.
So I think what you're seeing is people are using this discoverability to find things, but once they're engaged in it, they're hanging out for a really long time. And I think the thing that I've seen as well, just from my own listening experience, is you're usually doing something else. This past week, I know you're in Florida. I'm here in New Jersey, where we still deal with like handling leaves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I have we've got a lot of land here. We got like 4 acres, and so for us, like, doing the leaves is like a thing. So I listened to 5 hours of a whole podcast series while I was working on the yard this weekend. And I think what you get is you get kind of a deeper experience with somebody. It creates a listening habit, right? Because that's where like podcast series that cover a single topic are great. So I got sucked into this one. It was called Alien State. And it talks about Tom DeLonge, who was the lead singer of Blink-182 back in the day, and how like interested he was in aliens. And basically he started this whole program with the government, like researching it. And that's where all those like UFO videos came from a couple of years ago. Was actually from the lead singer of Blink-182 working with the government. Weird as that is. But
so
anyway,
wait, does that mean they put UFOs out there to make people have a reaction? Or what does that mean? How does that causing UFO videos?
So, well, he was researching it. And he wanted to find out, like, is this out there? So then he's like reaching out to all these different people in the government or whoever it may be. And actually, like, emails with him and the Clinton State Department actually came out in WikiLeaks, which I think is kind of funny. You see the lead singer of Blink-182. But anyway, like the reason I mentioned that is because that was a 9-episode podcast series.
Wow.
And then because I'm doing something else that's long and extended, right? Like I've done it I've done a podcast like that when I'm on construction projects, or when I'm working on something at the house, or when I'm doing a yard project like that. So I think you really develop a listening habit then. So then for me as that listener, I get through that entire series and I'm like, okay, where can I find more content like this from this creator? And I think that is the real difference. Is you're getting people that are sure they're doing something else, but they're really, really engaged and they have the time to be engaged in you. And I think that's the real value. So people that are commuting, people that are doing big projects. I always see podcast listening go up around the holidays because you're getting people that are driving to new locations for holidays. So I think there's a lot to be said about that. And also, I know for myself and my wife, we have listened to this one podcast series together that actually got me into podcasting called The No Agenda Show since 2009. And it's basically Adam Curry, who was a MTV VJ and actually the guy that invented podcasting, and John Dvorak, and they play news clips and talk about them. So that then becomes something that my wife and I then discuss to understand our world a little bit better. So I think there's so much ability to be engaged in it. I haven't myself been as sucked into kind of the short form content because it's just, to me, I'm more interested in depth. But I do think that is a lot of where the younger generation's going.
Yes. You mean towards short form? Or you mean through podcast?
I think towards short form.
Yeah.
I think towards short form because especially with like, TikTok and things like that, it's really where things are driving towards.
Yes. So, okay. So now let's, this podcast typically does involve a lot of people who sell e-commerce, but also people interested in business and money, right?